And we're live. How's it going, guys?
Maybe.
Hello, I'm Beefaroni. I'm joined by Lindsay and the Half Deaf for a new Lost Ark podcast. That dead air is great for a new podcast. I'm sure the viewers love it. Uh, so let's just get right into it and let's introduce ourselves. Lindsay, go right ahead.
Oh yeah. My name is Link, or some people call me Linksy. I'm a Twitch streamer, exclusively Lost Ark. I do have a Twitter account. I do have a YouTube. It's Mokoko Town. I haven't really updated it, to be honest with you. Um, I stream 2-3 times a week. How I try to. Mostly play Scrapper or Infighter, Berserker, Paladin, Scouter. I do have literally a class, every class, but I'm known more for on those characters. Um, Started Lost Ark about maybe 13 months ago, maybe 14 months ago. Currently have about 4,000 hours played, so done all the end game stuff. Currently on Kratos, which is the least popular English server on RU, but we do get by. We're not as pay to win as the other server, cough cough beep, and that's it.
Free to play, by the way, free to play. All right, Half, you're up.
What's up, guys? I'm the half deaf. Call me half. Um, that's because I was born with one ear, so the half deaf. Um, I love games. I love these guys that I'm talking to. Um, Newer to Lost Ark. Been playing since like June of this year, 2021. Um, I've known about it for a long time, but never really jumped into it. Just because I thought that setting up a VPN and doing all that stuff was just going to be a hassle, or I didn't. I'm not really into subscription games, so paying for a VPN was kind of like subscription to me. But once I leveled my first character, I haven't stopped. Um, so I'll get into my favorite classes and stuff once we get further into the podcast. But yeah, I'm super stoked to be here and talk about Lost Ark.
I'm Beefaroni. I have been playing for about 6 months as well. It started just as like a goof after the alpha. Like I found out about Lost Ark in 2014 when my friend Judd, who went on to make Last Epoch, we were playing Path of Exile together, and he sent me the trailer for Lost Ark, and we were both like super excited for it. We got really hyped, and then the game just never came out. And then fast forward to a few years ago, came out in Korea, but couldn't play it in Korea. Didn't even know about the Russian servers until very recently, around the time of the alpha. After the alpha installed, been playing ever since. Have about 1,000 hours played now, and yeah, just like I said, made it on a goof. Was gonna play for 3 days just for the free trial on the VPN and mess about. Next thing you know, I have 8 characters that are all rating. Just absolutely hooked. It's not healthy, but we love it.
No, that's great.
Yeah. So, what did you guys think of the beta? I know we all played in the beta for a little bit. Some of us more than others.
Yeah,
Just
I
want to get
actually
an idea.
didn't play that much. I wasn't particularly excited about the beta, as weird as that sounds. Um, Only because I had been enjoying what I'd been doing in RU for so long. Um, and it not being the actual release after it being delayed, and it being so short. Well, obviously, they gave us a couple more days, but still felt super short, right? For a lot of
Mm.
people. And I honestly just jumped on to see what the ping was on East and West because I have people from both servers that I want to play with. A lot more on the East though, and I live in the West, so I wanted to see what it would be like. And it actually wasn't that bad. It was only like a 20 ping difference, and from playing on 200 ping the last 6 months, uh, 20 ping's not going to make or break it. I'd rather play with people than have insane ping, especially since I'm not really going to focus on PvP. But I wanted to hear the voice acting, and I wanted to hear, which I thought was great, by the way. Um, and I wanted to see the cash shop. Fortunately, we didn't get to see the actual. Um, we didn't get to see what, say, $10 would translate to on the shop. And as far as I know, we still don't know that. And I was kind of looking forward to knowing, around how much things would be, right? On RU, you've got $7 skins and stuff like that. Is that going to be the same, or is it going to be more of like an NA market where, when you look at like Apex, or if you look at, other popular free to play games, they're like $15, $20 a skin. I was interested to see that, but unfortunately, I didn't get to see that. I think my favorite part of the beta, though, was watching the PvP tournament.
I was a little disappointed to see like how few costumes and things that they actually put into the cash shop for us to mess around with. There was just like the 2 costumes,
Yeah.
a couple of pets, and then you just buy from the black market to boost your gear score.
Yeah.
They were expensive, by the way.
Yes.
The
The exchange
costumes,
rate.
right? They were much higher than RU.
Yeah, it's probably going to be that way for NA release as well. I mean, it's going to be a lot of hype behind the game, and people are going to be willing to spend to look really cool. So I think that they're going to capitalize on that.
Wait, so Link, are you saying that for instance, like, if what's 700 crystals on RU is not 700 crystals on the NA beta?
It won't be exactly the same, right? I mean, on RU, $50 gets you about 5,000 crystals, something like that. Here, we're paying what, $100 for the platinum pack. We're getting 7,000 crystals approximately.
Yeah.
It's not an exact exchange rate, but I mean the costume prices, like they were closer to $25 a pop compared to what RU is, like $12, $17, and that includes pets and mounts.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, is I was super interested to see what that like exchange rate is, or what it actually translates to in USD, but we don't know, right? Because five
Yeah.
dollars could be 2,500 crystals. You have no idea. But I mean, I don't assume it'll be like that. I assume it'll be more expensive here. But
I think there's also added value with the Founders Pack. So, like, you're getting the 7,000 crystals, but you're also getting all the potion boxes, you're getting costumes, you're getting mounts, you're getting character slots, you're getting gear. So, there's more than just, it's not like a 1-to-1 direct ratio of you're paying $100, you're getting
sure.
7,000 crystals, you're getting 7,000 crystals plus A, B, C, D, E.
Yeah, I mean, because if you think about it, to what we would expect in NA, 7,000 crystals would be $70, or is that different? I mean,
I
I
mean,
guess not
I would
really, but
expect like a 100 to $1 ratio. I think that seems about right.
oh, okay.
Like 100 crystals per $1 spent, but obviously you're gonna have to spend $5 to $10 at a time. So $5, 500 crystals, enough for like
Sure.
maybe a boost. Maybe depending on how they do it, might be $10 for a boost on NA.
Yeah.
I think you were the only one that actually got to 50 in the beta. Cause like,
Oh, you guys didn't get to 50?
No,
no,
I did not get
Oh,
I
50.
was, I was, I didn't. I was working. I was really busy. Just happened to be a really busy week, and got to about level 27 right after Luthering. Honestly, I could have done more. Um, just like half. I wasn't particularly excited about beta just because we've spent so many hours on RU already. We knew what to expect.
Mhm.
I was mostly there for just to see the localization, see what the names are in English, the dungeon names, the monster names. Like Papunika became Papnika, Punika. I don't know what the hell.
Punika, yeah,
I think
it's
it was
Punika.
Punika,
They
yeah.
completely changed some of the names. Like Cillian became what? You wrote it down. It's like
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
still don't
remember.
understand, like,
Arion or something. Like
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I kind of like. I'm not so mad about the names that completely changed. I'm more
yeah.
mad about the names that changed very slightly, because it's
Hmm.
just like what, like why? Like I can understand if you wanted to completely change a name for some reason, or it doesn't fit
Hmm.
the zone or whatever, but to just change Papunica to Punica, it just seems weird. I don't know.
The only reason I even got to 50 was just to see like the story in English, because the Russian translation, while serviceable, not the best. A lot of things didn't make sense, so I just wanted to take my time, read through every quest in the main storyline, side quests, whatever. But see like all the main NA story quests, get an idea of what's happening, and then now when the release happens, I can skip all that. I could just shoot right for 50 and do what I plan on doing at 50.
Sure. Did
What
did
class
you
did you
feel a
play?
huge?
What class did you play in beta? Sorry.
I did the paladin for the beta.
How did you feel about well, I guess I'll ask two questions. How do you feel about leveling on the beta versus, because I know you've leveled both the beta and on RU. Like, do you feel like there's a big difference between what the game is in RU and what the beta was in NA for leveling?
I feel like there were pretty similar experiences. Being able to like hear like the idle chatter of like the citizens in the world in English and actually understand what they're saying was nice. Being able to understand the quests also was pretty good.
Yeah, it's more immersive, right?
Right. But I mean the experience itself, I mean, I could have just hit G through the whole thing, skipped every quest line, gone right to
Okay.
50 in a day and been done with it like some people did.
Yeah.
Some people had 4 level 50s in the beta. Like I had the one, I used the ticket to level up another character just to test it out because it was one that I wanted to try on RU, but I never actually did. Turns out, good thing I didn't level up a character on RU for that one because it's no, it was the female gunslinger. Just
Gunslinger.
yeah, too many skills. 16 skills is just too many. I gotta
Hopefully
stick
your
with 8.
hands are kicking,
Yeah, I'm
right?
I'm too old for that.
Right.
My APM is too low.
So I guess then my second question was going to be, because you leveled in the NA beta with Paladin, which is, a support class. I think a lot of people kind of hear that support leveling is god awful. How did you feel leveling your Paladin?
I went blue build. It was fine. Didn't take me that long. Didn't have any issues killing bosses or anything like that. It was totally fine. I don't think that just because it's a support class that you can't do damage with it. It's not going to be god tier damage, but it's good enough to get you through the story.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't feel like you're going twice as slow.
No, no, definitely not. Maybe like 80% speed.
Hmm,
It,
cool.
Paladin has tons of AoE.
Yeah, but it was more for the boss fights where I felt slower.
Yeah.
Got it.
Mm. What class did you play, Half?
In the beta, I didn't even level anything past like 10. I went
Oh,
in to see if Striker felt any different, just because that's my favorite class.
okay.
And it felt exactly the same. It feels really really clunky and slow in tier one, and which is fine. It's kind of a hurry up and wait class, and you just like Blade and Striker are both classes that if they weren't so clunky in tier one tier two, I would just main both of those classes, no question asked. But I think that if I were to have taken the beta seriously, which I couldn't have, because similar to you, Link, I was busy. I actually had a surgery that week. Um,
Oh man.
uh, yeah, I think that I would have done an infighter, and I think I'm going to do infighter on NA too.
I played Deathblade too. Um, I'm not sure why actually, but I was thinking I want to try something else.
Hmm.
I played a lot of Blade in RU as well, but not from like start to finish. It was mostly a boosted character. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the costumes that they gave out to people. I enjoyed the cloud mount that I don't have that on the RU server. It's like
Neither
a
do I.
Nimbus basically, like it's like a Dragon Ball mount, right? Basically,
Yeah,
Isn't it like
right?
insanely
Uh,
hard to get on RU too? Like it's a crazy grind.
it's a crazy grind, but people
Yeah.
do sell them on the auction house. They're
Oh,
pretty
okay.
expensive though. Yeah, and there's like a normal cloud, golden cloud, thunder, snow, all that jazz. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
you only obtain it one time, or if you get it and sell it, can you get it again?
No, I think it's like a Peach Island quest. You have to.
Yeah, it
It's a
is.
very tedious grind of tokens or something, and then you can exchange for it.
But is it like once per legacy, or is it just you can get it
Yeah, I'm
10
pretty
times
sure you
if you
can only
want?
get it once.
Okay, that's cool.
Mhm.
Okay, so Half mentioned that he's going to try the Infighter. I don't know if you've actually played the Infighter that much on RU, but I was kind of curious what your most favorite or least favorite class would be.
Um, Striker and Infighter are my favorite classes. My favorite classes will always be classes that punch things. Always. In any game I've ever played, I'm just a sucker for any kind of gauntlet class, any kind of kung fu class, any martial arts class. It's just always been my favorite. Um, and honestly, I was when Striker first came out on RU, I was really excited um, because I wanted to play a male martial artist, even though I had been playing Infighter actually as my main before that, and I was loving it. But I didn't necessarily really like Battlemaster because it felt more like quick assassin to me than like a hard hitting fighter, and those are the classes I like the most. And so that's why Infighter and Striker kind of like really struck a chord with me. Um, and so once Striker came out on RU, I switched from my Infighter to my Striker. Because in Tier 3, it's so much fun. It's so much damage, so much burst. It's quick. I don't feel like I have a ton of downtime. Um, and I feel very similar about the Infighter, but the Infighter can do that from level 25. And so that's probably the reason why I will play Infighter as a main um, in NA, and then once we get up towards the end of Tier 2, Tier 3, I'll probably have a really hard time switching between an Infighter and a Striker.
That's really interesting because I'm pretty sure Beat thinks the complete opposite about Striker and Fighter.
Absolutely.
Like how? What do you mean?
So, traditionally in MMOs, I always play like the tanky character or like the supporty character. So, in dating myself here, back in EverQuest, I played like Shadow Knight.
Whoa, I request.
Yeah, it was good time. I loved EverQuest. I played like a Shadow Knight as my main, and in World of Warcraft, I was a Prot Warrior for my entire time in there. But I also had like other characters, but mostly Prot Warrior. And then looking at Lost Ark, there's no Holy Trinity, so I wanted to play like what would be technically like the tank, and that was the Warlord or Gunlancer. And it appealed to me because I played a lot of Monster Hunter, and it was very similar to the Gunlance in Monster Hunter. So I tried it out, and I loved it. It's just super easy to play. The shield is overpowered.
Yeah.
It has a lot of forgiveness for making stupid mistakes, which everyone makes mistakes. Me more than most, but the shield saves me. There's pros and cons to the shield because A, like, yes, I was able to get through all the content and I can do all the fights, but B, if I played like the Infighter, I die in 2 hits because I get hit by things that I don't normally have to worry about when I have my shield
Sure.
up.
Sure. Hey man, I'm not gonna complain. You giving me a shield, I'm happy about that.
Right, right. So, for me, favorite class, despite what my videos may let you think, definitely the Gunlancer slash Warlord. Lindsay, what about you?
What do you think? What do you think my favorite class is? Because I play everything, so
I
Yeah, I don't know if I'd
think
be able to put my finger on it for you, Link.
I think I have a guess, and I'm not
yeah.
sure if I'm right here, but I
Uh,
think that your favorite class is the Paladin.
uh. Oh, I really like the Paladin. Yeah, it's not my favorite class though.
No,
I,
all right, right.
I if I had to guess, I would say Zerker, only because
Yeah.
of how much you've been playing it recently and like how far you've geared it up. But other than that,
Mhm.
I'd have no idea.
To be honest with you, I'm not quite sure either. But when you ask me like which class I wish it was stronger and I wish I would play more of it would probably be the Deathblade and
Mm,
Lancemaster. Like Deathblade, like there's not a lot of sword classes in Lost Ark, ironically. Berserker is one of them, but it doesn't feel like a swordsman. Like it's this gigantic ass sword,
yeah.
and it's so slow. Like you see the big damage numbers, but it's a very very clunky class.
Mm,
Blade is so silky smooth. It's like you feel like a samurai, like a batosai, right? If you if you watch anime, Rurouni Kenshin, like you jump around, you have all these combos, everything charges. all these type of wicked sword attacks. It's just not a very popular class to raid with, even though it's a very strong PvE class. Lance Master is very similar in terms of like how fast it is and how much dynamic combos you can do, because there's like literally 14 different skills that you can equip compared to the regular class. You have 8 and you can switch stances. Lance Master is considered one of the stronger classes in the game for Korea. I mained the Lance Master for about 6 months before I dropped it for Scouter, and then I dropped it again for Berserker. But I feel like I think a lot of people would really people that play Lance Master generally really enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's definitely a lot stronger than Blade though in terms of like raid content, which is unfortunate because I feel like Blade fills like a niche, like a samurai niche that isn't really filled by any other class, and we have like 22 of them now. So it's that's probably my favorite. And did we talk about least favorite classes? Because I know exactly which my least favorite class is. Yeah. Do you want to talk about that or
Yeah, I do. I'm very curious to know what everyone's hated class is.
okay?
Go ahead. Let us hear what your least favorite class
You
is,
want me to
Lindsay.
go first? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. My first character was actually a Soul Fist. It was a Soul Master because I everyone makes a Soul Master for the exact same reason, right? Okay, you want
Yep.
to be like Dragon Ball Z.
Yep.
You want to be like anime style Buddhist palm, all these wicked attacks and martial artists. It does not play like that at all. Uh, in PvP, yes. In PvE, it's like a watered down version of Infighter. It's a lot of melee attacks, not a lot of nukes. You don't really use those except for
Mhm.
your ult, the spirit bomb, like that one. Okay, sure, but like everything else, it's just kind of clunky. I don't
Wait,
like it. I
you don't like holding up your arms for 10 minutes and then missing and then
and
waiting
then
for
have
your
to
third stage key again and
You don't like the
and
finger
like putting all the
pistols?
buffs into like one attack. No, like that's not fun. You do a massive damage and then like you do like no damage for like 2 minutes.
Mhm.
I don't like that playstyle. I was recommended by a lot of videos that Soul Master was really strong when I was a beginner, like over a year ago. Um, that's why you have to try it. That's why people
Yeah.
need to download RU and go and try it because like you never know until
And
you
you
go
don't want to
try
make
these
that
classes.
mistake either in NA,
Right.
right? You don't want
You
to
don't
put a
want to
bunch of
waste time,
time
man.
to
You
yeah.
don't want to waste 4 months on a character just to switch.
Yep. Yeah, I
It's
haven't
not
been lucky enough
necessarily
thinking
four
it's going to
months,
get
but
better, better.
it takes 15 hours to level up if you're, anywhere near efficient, and then 15 hours is no small amount of time, depending on, some of us older folks only get a few hours a night to play, so that could be like your entire week just leveling up, and then you get there and you realize like, oh, this is not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
definitely.
especially if you're holding out, right? If you're like, okay, well, maybe once I get more gear, maybe once I get more skill points, maybe once I get the runes, maybe, you know, whatever it is, you think, okay, like I'll hold out. I'll stick with it, right? And then it never gets better. And not to say that, you know, I don't completely agree with people who say that Soul Master is trash, right? I don't think that's what Link is saying, but I think that Link is correct in the fact that people get the wrong idea about Soul Master. I think that people, expect it to be this super cool, mid-ranged, like ethereal fighter who's kind of like a Dragon Ball Z character, and then they get in and it's much slower than they expected, and they have this weird resource generation that they have to keep track of, or wait for, or whatever. And it can be rough for newer players who want to go in and just like kill things and smash things all of a sudden, right?
So what would your least favorite be, half def?
You you're gonna hate me, but Warlord
How
actually.
dare you?
And
How
I'm not trolling
dare
you.
you?
And I don't.
Give me
Here's the thing I want
reasons.
people to understand about it is that Warlord is not my least favorite class for any kind of reason as far as how it performs. Because I think it's honestly one of the strongest slash the most like needed classes in the game when it comes to like any type of end game PvE content. Um, but I love punching things, and I love punching things fast. Um, and it doesn't have to be like assassin speed, right? But when it comes to like warlord, berserker, slowness, um, those two classes, it's just so hard for me. I don't know if it's because I'm like patient or what. Um, it's definitely, you say you have a shield to help you, you know, get past certain damages or mechanics or things like that that you don't have to worry about. But at the same time, for me, it's harder because I'm not as fast as I'm used to. So being a slower character or dealing with that backwards jump, I'm just getting hit by everything. My shield doesn't even doesn't even
Yeah,
help me.
that hop is not the best. Sometimes I
Yeah.
forget
So
that I'm playing on the warlord and I'll hit the jump button and I jump backwards and it's like, oh no, what am I doing?
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like I said, it stinks because I feel like a lot of times if someone says this is my least favorite class, they immediately don't listen to anything else and they just go, okay, not playing that class, right? I would never want anyone to get the idea that Warlord is not a great class. It just doesn't fit my play style.
Warlord most OP class. You heard it here first.
So what
Uh,
about you?
my least favorite would be assassin classes, just based off of like how squishy they are. Like, yes, they're fast, and yes, they do tons of damage, but you get hit once, and you're like a wet flower, a wet paper bag. You just get annihilated. That's how I feel right now. Like we're trying to do Dark Assyria on my infighter, and then any little bit of damage is like 33% of my health bar. So it's frustrating because I mean, obviously, yes, I have to learn how to play the DPS classes. I'm too reliant on my shields, but any melee assassin class, not my favorite. I would much rather play a ranged DPSer, which I feel much more comfortable with, or obviously the Gunlancer Warlord, most OP class in the game. Everyone should make one.
Range DPS has a huge advantage
Yeah.
in terms of raids and stuff. Just
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like you're out of range of like half the boss mechanics, while still doing damage,
yeah.
right? And most of them you don't have to hit from behind unless you're Deadeye.
Yeah.
In which case, GG, you're basically a melee range class. Um, but understandable, yeah.
I would put
Warlord is really strong, like
the artillerist and the blaster in as like same class, obviously artillerist and blaster, just different NA versus RU names. I would put them in as one of my favorite classes as well. I'll probably make that one of my mains for NA.
Yeah, I think that when you talk about like range classes, right? I think that a lot of people like Link said, you're out of the half the fight, right? You're in the safe zone type of thing. Um, but I think a lot of range classes can struggle in very specific fights or maybe even very specific mechanics,
hmm
because a lot of the range classes have a lot of like casted or like charged or very long cast time abilities. Um, and playing Hawkeye and even just things as simple as the Area dungeon, I'll charge up my snipe and I'm dead because I was stuck charging in something and I didn't dodge out quick enough or whatever. So for most of the mechanics, you can get away from, but I know that a lot of times I think there's like the gunslingers have a hard time sometimes where you're trying to make the most of your range, but that can also put you in a very terrible spot when, say, the boss has a mechanic where everything basically outside of the boss is telegraphed as a dangerous attack, and like you have to be right close to the boss. Then you can get yourself caught in a bad scenario because you're too far, or you can't even see the mechanic that's happening because you're so far away from the boss. Um, I think it's very interesting to see the differences in fights where ranged can have such a nice relaxing time, and other times where they don't because of the fact that they're too far away or they have these skills that take so long to actually come out and do anything.
I have a question for you, Af.
Mm.
What's your favorite raid
Balton.
right now? Paulton?
Um, and I feel like a lot of people sleep on it. I think Beakiss has a lot of cool and challenging mechanics. Um, I don't think Balton is that hard by any means, like the actual mechanics themselves. Um, And this is obviously excluding Deja Vu because I haven't ever played the Aberlshire raid. I've seen it, but it's not on out on RU, so I'm kind of just leaving that out on the side. Um, to play, it's been Balton, just because it's kind of like a mini game. It's like you could have, insane damage, but if you just make one wrong move, you get booped off the platform, and it's fun, right? It's whether you're doing it for the first time and you're stressing out and you're sweating bullets trying to dodge everything so you don't fall off the edge, or you're doing it with friends and trolling them with the red cone, and you know people are freaking out and you're just having a
Chugging
good time.
rocks.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think it can just be a really fun fight for any stage of the game. Um, whereas something like Vehicus or Clown, you don't really do for fun. You whether you're strong or not, you're kind of like you're doing it for the mats, or you're doing it for the gold, or you're doing it for completionist stuff. But yeah, definitely Balton.
Well, you beat.
Uh, Probably one of the raids that was removed. I really liked Kaisher. I thought that was like a really interesting type of fight where you can like spin the camera around. You can like in between the phases, you have to go up, you have to fight demons and fire the crossbow and do all these like extra things in between fighting the dragon itself. I thought that was a really fun fight.
I think a lot of people
Also 16
outside of
players.
Lost Ark would agree with you. I've heard so many people, like 4 months ago when we still had it, talk about that fight, right? And people who come from WoW and said that should have been what Deathwing was, or that should have been what this
Right.
fight was. And I think for a lot of people that fight has like a really cool WoW factor, something that's like different that they've never seen before. And I think that that was one of the things that drew a couple of my friends to the game, was that actual raid. So it'll be a bummer if it's never brought back or never remade or whatever.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we get the Mystic and the Kaisha raids back for NA. I
Yeah.
feel like they took it out because people were going in there with 1500 gear score and just punching them once and killing it, and then kind of defeats the purpose of having the raid in there because people are just going in and just smacking it and
Yeah.
making gold for 7 other people.
They have plans to bring it back.
Good, good.
Yeah, that's what
What?
they said, right?
Mhm.
But we just haven't heard anything since they said that.
We're gonna make it harder.
Yeah, and
Good.
especially since they haven't, or
Mhm.
recently they said they were going to focus a lot on like fixing the game or balance changes and stuff like that, instead of smashing content into the game. Um, which makes me sad, because then that makes me feel like we're not going to see a remake of those things for a while.
We'll
Which
be
then
on
begs
NA
the
long
question.
before that happens.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I was going to say, is that it begs the question of like, okay, if it's not remade for tier 1, tier 2, because I'm assuming they're going to push through those tiers really quickly in NA, then what happens? Do they bring them back as like a higher gear score raid? Like, I hope.
Yeah, I would not mind seeing it as like something to rival Argos in tier 3, like entry level end game raids that are still kind of challenging. You put a cap on it where if you're over this level, you get nothing from it. So the only reason that if you're a 1550 gear score character, the only reason you would even go in there is if, lower people in your guild needed whatever gear or gold or
Mhm.
help.
So Link, what would be yours then?
Um, I'm thinking about it. Honestly, I really miss the underwater dungeons, guys.
Dude,
Like
I do
nobody does
too.
them anymore.
Yeah, I miss them too.
Were
Because
those
they're
raids
so much
technically
fun.
though?
As much as the pugs triggered me in those raids, and you'd go
Yeah.
in and you'd be excited to do your, what is it? Something gate? What are they called? I can't remember what the name is.
Um, Underwater Sanctuary, Perilous Abyss, and Oblivion Sea.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so you'd go in, and they're underwater, they're different, you have different abilities, everything looks cool, it sounds cool. And I had a lot of fun doing them, as much as like I'm sure you guys have experienced like doing those with people who have never done them before, or doing that with people who don't speak the same language as you or whatever. It can be it can be pretty tough.
Yeah.
I remember doing those dungeons like 4 times every week because the first 3 tries we just didn't go.
Yeah. I had like 20 characters. I did all of them. So it's every week. People stop doing them because there's no more gold in those dungeons anymore.
Yeah.
They recently made some changes to the old content, no longer making gold. They're just so creative, right? Because like the setting is completely different from everything before it. Um, it's kind of weird because it belongs more to Papanica in terms of the theme, but yet they kind of let you play it as soon as you reach Peyton, right? And you get to go on a scuba diving suit and start shooting like a shark. You get to battle this like underwater tree. And the hard mode, Oblivion Sea, is actually hilariously hard because like you have to go to certain spots and stuff, and then it's a lot more fun than the regular mode. There's a giant turtle that you have to fight with orbs where you have to spin around clockwise and like you said, trying to do those with Russian people that can't speak any English sometimes. Crap,
No,
man.
it can be
You can
rough,
spend
man.
hours in there. I mean, it's not a difficult mechanic by any means, but there wasn't a lot of guides available out there teaching you how to do that stuff. And it's one of the challenges of playing on Russia server is that you just kind of have to figure things out on yourself. Um, Underwater Sanctuary as well is really interesting. You get to fight giant genie in the middle, and then like you have to all these mechanics, and then there's like a Arsenal with the trident and all those whirlpools and the safe zones and the impairment and pugs always fail them, but they're like so creative. Yeah, they're so different from everything before it and even everything after it. It's just unfortunate that people don't do them anymore. It's so hard to find a party for them. I was watching Omni do the water dungeons just yesterday. Actually, they could not pass Underwater Sanctuary. Like, um, people were able to impair them after using bombs, but they just could not destroy the orbs, and they kept
Yep.
failing it like back to back to back. And it just reminded me like how much fun we had on those dungeons just maybe like 3 months ago.
It's a little disappointing that they don't have it as one of the Abyss raids or Abyss dungeons where you go in, all the gear is kind of removed from the equation. All you have is your engravings to kind of help guide you through it. It would be really interesting to see if they put that in there for one of these future patches.
I agree.
Mhm.
I think that
Like
it's
bring
really
those back
weird
into the
that
rotation.
yeah, that they take the gold away from it, right? And basically almost every other dungeon can go into that rotation, just not the underwater dungeon.
Yeah.
It's weird. And I agree with you. I miss them. They're fun, they're immersive, the music's good, the enemies are cool. It's a nice change of pace, I think is what it is the most.
Yeah, and you got to manage your oxygen levels because if you don't, you'll
Yeah.
drown. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fun.
exactly.
Dude, I turn off my interface on Control X, and like I have no idea I'm drowning until I'm dead. It's
Oh no.
hilarious, and people are like pinging me because like I like to be immersive when I'm playing. That's why I turn off the names on my characters and stuff like
Mm.
that. I turn off the UI, so you can't even see like the oxygen bar on top of your head. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I remember
I'm sure
playing
we'll be
that
doing
dungeon for
those
the first time,
morning. Mhm.
and similar to that kind of oxygen mechanic was that I knew okay, you had to go stand by the bubbles or use the plant, and then you refill your oxygen bar, and um, but what I didn't know is that the yellow telegraphed attacks would take away your oxygen if you got hit by them. And so I remember just in the first time just dying several times because I would have full oxygen and I'm managing it. And all of a sudden I have none and I was like, what's happening to my my oxygen? What's going on? Came to
The
find out I
Ghost
just can't
Captain.
get hit.
The
Yeah.
Ghost Captain
Yeah.
people like not
Yep.
killing the witches, not using destruction skills, and
Yep.
like
Not breaking
everyone
the
just
shield, and they're just
oh my god,
continuously hitting
dude.
the boss even though it says immune, and yeah, it's fun. I mean, I think that honestly, with to not go out too off topic, that's been my favorite thing about playing on RU is learning everything.
Mhm.
Um, I think it brought me back to a different time where you played games and you didn't look up guides and you didn't know what to do, right? Like think about when you played Pokemon, right? And when you're a kid and you used the Pokemon that you liked, right? You played the way you wanted to. You didn't like look up what's the strongest Pokemon and only go for that one and then duplicate glitch it. You were just this is my favorite Pokemon and I'm going to use it, right? And that's what RU has kind of been for me for the most part, right? Like now I know a lot. Now I know a lot of people, so information kind of flows in. But half of this enjoyment in Lost Ark has really been learning everything. Um, and I think that that kind of scares a lot of people, and a lot of people don't want to do that. But if there's people out there who enjoy that kind of thing and putting in the work to learn and getting battle scars and stuff and things not being easy, like this is it.
Seems hard, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lindsay used to make fun of me because I would want to go in and solo the Guardians, and he's just like laughing at me because I wanted to do it. And obviously now I know why he doesn't want me to do it, because it's, as you get to the harder Guardians, it becomes like very very difficult to actually
No.
clear them
Yeah.
by yourself.
Right. You went in with no engravings, no ability stones.
Engravings are a crutch.
By
Hey,
yourself.
engravings are a crutch. You don't need them. All right, everyone can win the game without engravings.
All right. Well, then I'll see you in NA, and you better not have any engravings.
Yeah. So speaking of no engravings in NA, what are your guys' plan for the launch? Like what?
I don't have a plan, and it's kind of hard, right? Like I've been stuck in this like RU tier 3 grind for so long, that I've kind of been away from leveling and like tier 1 content for such a long time. Um, and I kind of wanted to do that because I wanted to come into the game like freshly doing tier 1 and feeling like it's a new game. So it's a good thing, but the problem is I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to level 5 infighters so that, stuff is cheaper on me for like engraving books and stuff. Or if I'm going to just level every class I think is fun, or if I'm going to level one class and focus on other things. I think I'm just going to take it day by day and not to stress out too much about it, and kind of do the same thing that I did in RU, where I just, even if leveling, one character is not the most efficient way, and I should just take a week off when launches and get 7 characters leveled so I never have to worry about boosting them or anything. I don't know. I think I'll just take it day by day and do what my friends are doing and just have a good time.
Like 5 bards, all bards, team bard.
God,
Make
leveling
all the
5 bards. Leveling 5 bards sounds so toxic.
Shout out to IU. I think he's gonna try and make a bard guild, like actually all bards.
My plan is going to be the opposite of half. I'm going to go pretty crazy right off the bat. I'm going to take, a week off of work, and the head start, I'm going to try to level one character a day. And I don't know if boosts are going to be in right off the bat. They might, make you wait 1, 2, 3 months to get a boost in, because obviously you're going to want people to play the game and level up the old fashioned way. You don't want to just make it so that someone can come in, buy their way straight to 600 gear score, whatever the max is going to be. So I'm going to try to level up one character a day in the head start, and then work on islands and side missions and getting my affinity stuff started, and try to put myself in a good position, like adventure book, put myself in a good position that, like, as I return to work and I'm like only able to play a couple hours here and there, I don't have to worry too much about like, oh, I need to level a character, but I only have, 2 hours to play tonight, 3 hours to play tonight. And then my entire night becomes leveling, and I don't get to do my guardians, I don't get to do my chaos, I don't get to do my dungeons.
Yep.
Link?
My approach is going to be completely opposite of Beep. The reason is because I literally have 23 alts on RU, one of every class, 2 battle masters, 3 bards, 2 holy knights. Like it's insane. The amount of dailies that you can do, you could literally spend like full-time job doing dailies and chaos and guardians. And it took so much time away from me doing actually like adventuring. And there's so much content in Lost Ark. It's not just all raids, right? Like you could explore sea and water content. You can go to the islands. You could. There's so much lore in the game. Uh, there's like other stuff, adventure book stuff, collection stuff. I have no time for any of it because it feels like, hey, I have 20 characters waiting for me to do dailies. I never have time to do them. Like, I never have time to finish. And So for RU for launch, I'm gonna have one main, maybe a support character alt, so like two characters, and I'm gonna just spend all my time doing things that are permanent, like things that you can unlock, like skill potions, Mokoko seeds, uh, whatever, giant's hearts, island hearts, doing those things, because like once you get those out of the way, that's for your whole account, right? And they're fun because I haven't really spent that much time on it. Maybe about a month in the RU server. I don't want to go crazy. Like I know people that are literally taking a week off work. They're gonna make character one, two, three, four, five, get them all to 50, go grind like all the raids. But like I feel like it's just like why? Because like let's be honest, like tier one content is like tutorial, right? And we're not gonna have tier two content probably at least a month until after launch. Tier three is probably closer to half a year, if not 8 months. Like Japan server launched in September of last year. They just got Volton, and they just got Argos like 3 months ago. Like that's kind of the timeline I'm thinking that we're gonna get in the global release. So if we're gonna spend that much time in lower tier content, like I want to enjoy the game because like once I start making 50 alts, I'm gonna stop doing the adventure book. Like I'm gonna get lazy because I feel like oh it's such a waste if I don't do my chaos today. I get that all the time every night now. Like I just want to have more time to do other things because there's so much to explore in the game.
Right, I understand that, and I'm gonna use the rested bonus to my advantage, where I'm only gonna do guardians and chaos if I have that rested advantage. So it's not gonna be like I'm gonna do this guardian every single day. I'm gonna do chaos dungeons every single day. It's gonna be more like I'm gonna do it every other 3 days because it's gonna take 2 days for that rested bonus to fill up.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that all of us have this kind of more laid back approach, where we want to play with our friends, we want to, see all the, lore and collectibles, and we want to level, just like, have a couple characters. And it's very interesting because it's going to be the opposite for all of the new players, right? Because whenever there's like a new game, um, especially because of how content driven everything is now, it's like who's going to get to the highest gear score first, who's going to do the most guardians on the first day, who's going to have this or that rune or whatever. And it's a good way to burn out on the game. And I hope that a lot of people don't uh push too hard. I know there's people who they could never push too hard, and that's just how they are. They're masochists, and they can just do it forever. And but I really hope that a lot of new players don't feel this pressure when they see other people who are 600 gear score or whatever, and they're like, oh, I'm not that gear score, and I'm not that high, or I don't do that much damage. And it's like, this game is an actual marathon that you should just take at any pace you feel
Yeah.
comfortable, especially if you're playing with friends, because it's just you've kind of got like a cushion. You've got people who can help you. You've got people that you can help. It just makes the game a lot more fun, I feel like.
Game's a lot more fun when you play with other people too. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't try to solo the whole game. You can't.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and I think you raise an interesting point where the people that are gonna push, and it's inevitable, it's gonna happen. Someone's gonna be max gear score first week, right?
Yeah.
That person is gonna complete all the content, and then they're just gonna have to make another character because they took all of their free time and they put it into just pushing so hard on one character that there's nothing left for them to do for the rest of the week on that character. So they have to wait until the following Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever day the reset's going to be to have more content to do on their character. Like, sure, they can go do adventure book, they can go do island adventures. There's going to be other stuff to do, but like as far as PVE, dungeons and guardians and chaos and everything like that, you're going to be kind of stalled.
Yeah, you're right. Because those players aren't looking for the lore. They're not looking for the collectibles. They're looking for, I have big PP. I, have big numbers. I am strong man. I am, big guy on campus. And yeah, you can run out of stuff to do really quick. I mean, unless you just keep swiping and go on another character or something. Um, which It's funny that we're talking about like new people coming into the game. I know we wanted to talk about new people or new players and what we think they should or should not play. And I'm actually very very interested because I want to see if it lines up with what you guys have as biases for the classes that were your favorite and not your favorite, or if it's more based off of how they perform or stats or things like that.
I would say if you're going to be leveling solo, do not pick a bard as your first character because you do 0 DPS and you're going to have a hard time.
You're also invited to every party, and you won't have any trouble doing any dungeons.
Yeah, you
Right.
have the best and
Tanky
the
as
worst of
fuck.
it, right?
It's it's the best and the worst, exactly. Because yes, you'll get in every dungeon group, you'll get in every party that wants like a healer, but at the same time, if you're playing with friends and they get a little bit ahead of you, you can't just catch up to them as easily. You have to find other people to do the damage for you, and you're kind of just like coasting along with what other people do.
Yeah. Yeah.
If your only objective is to make gold, making a support main is probably the best way to go, because not only are you super tanky and you can use heavy armor, you're invited to every raid, and you basically never have to buy potions,
Yep.
which is very expensive in this game. Once you start doing raids, man, because there's potions you can use outside and there's potions you can use in the raid, and raid potions are very expensive. They take time to craft. They're sold in the auction house. You can spend real money on them, but definitely, like as you said, DPS takes a lot of damage. And when they're starting to learn mechanics in the beginning, oh my god, you're gonna get hit by everything. As a bard, as a holy knight, as a paladin, like you definitely have an advantage in terms of making gold.
Yeah, you both make good points about, you know, when you start off, it'll feel rough playing your bard leveling, right? But once you're 50 and you are coasting and you are just invited to every party or available to fit in every party, all of a sudden stuff becomes a lot like smoother for you. It's very interesting because like the DPS is almost different, right? Like you play a DPS character and you fly through the MSQ and then you're trying to get into parties, but parties are like, you don't have the right engravings or you don't have enough specialty on your character or whatever. Whereas if you're a support bard, people don't even look if you're DPS or not. They would just say, "Oh, bard, yes." Click.
See, I'm going to have a bard. I'm just not going to level it. I'm going to boost it because I just don't have the patience to level up that slowly.
Honestly, in the beta, um, Calamity and Themrel were both playing Infighters together, pushing through the MSQ quite fast. And IU was playing a Bard through the MSQ, and he was keeping pace with them. Don't ask me how, but I know it's possible. It's just for new players who don't have a feel for every skill in the character's arsenal, or how to actually get through the MSQ fast, or what mechanics are what. Then yeah, I think that it's better to just play a different class your first time leveling through. Play something that can smash,
Mm,
boom, pow. You know?
Yeah, IU also has like a 30-page bard guide that he wrote out.
Yeah,
So like he's not your average bard player. Like
yeah,
he's been playing the class for so long that he knows it in and out. He knows
yeah.
exactly what skills do what, how they interact with each other. Not going to be your average experience for someone coming in fresh out of the gate, never playing the game before, or only playing in like the beta for, 5, 6 days, whatever it was for the beta.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, if I was going to recommend classes to new players, it would probably be a Zerker, um, as long as you don't dislike huge swords or being a little bit slower. Um, does a ton of damage, isn't as squishy as an assassin, and isn't very hard to learn, but can be hard to master, I would say. Berserker is not a class that I think fits in either one of those categories. I think that when you pick it up, you can very quickly start doing the things you need to be doing, but at the same time, with some longer skill animations or you being slower or whatever, once you get into raids and things like that, it can actually be a kind of a difficult class to play. But if you can play it well, it can really do some stuff for you. And Blaster, I mean, huge damage, ranged, has shields, has a turret that you can sit in and just say, come at me, boss. I don't care. Um, I think it would be a lot of fun for a lot of new players that, big explosions, big numbers, huge turret, stuff like that.
Very safe play style.
Yeah, yeah,
Shields.
yeah. So if I was gonna recommend a new player classes, I think those would be the ones I would tell them.
Zerker and Artillerists. Well, which
Hmm.
class would you not recommend for beginners?
Um, I know we talked a little bit about it before, but easily Soulmaster. Um, just because I can't think of another class that's harder to do damage with, or understand, or build. Um, from I could be completely wrong, but from what I understand, Soulmaster comes online once you've mastered the class, once you have the gear, once you've spent the time, and you're kind of like a veteran Soul Master player. It's obviously not a class that's bad, um, but I would just say it's very slow in tier one. Unless you know the game like the back of your hand and the class like the back of your hand, you're gonna, like Link said earlier, you're gonna come in expecting something and getting something completely.
Would you be?
So stay away from the bard would be my suggestion. But if you're gonna looking for something to play, I would say Blaster and Summoner are two very strong choices. Both have very safe play styles. Both do very good damage. And yeah, I think that those would be very popular choices for NA players. What about you, Link?
Especially since Summoner kind of feels like a mage role, right? It's the only class that kind of there's a lot of people who come in from other MMOs that want to play a mage, right? And it's like really the only one that's going to be available on launch. So I think I think not only is it strong, but it's a good recommendation for new players because it's a classic MMO class.
Right. What do you think, Link? What's the suggestion for new players and what should they stay away from?
So we're not gonna have Reaper, right? We're not gonna have Scouter. We're not. What else are we not gonna have? We're not gonna have
Destroyer.
No Lance Master.
no no Lance Master, no Arcana.
Yep.
Uh,
No sword.
Maybe
Oh.
Summoner. Sorceress, maybe. Yeah.
maybe Sorceress. I I'm trying to think of a class that's beginner friendly that people genuinely enjoy when they play it, and it's pretty strong in pretty much every type of content. Maybe not the best, but at least can pull their own weight in most content, even including PvP. Um, I feel like Infighter is a very good choice. Not only are you extremely mobile, there's two different play styles. There's not a ton of AoE, but you almost feel like a superhero when you play Infighter or AKA Scrapper. You fly around, you punch things, and things explode. Like the ground would just erupt with your damage. You feel the impact of your attacks, and it's a visually pleasing playstyle. We're talking about the green build. Taijutsu build is extremely quick. You see a lot of crit numbers. It's cheaper to build. Generally speaking, I feel like Infighter is not terribly difficult to learn, and it's pretty decent in all types of content. It's got high impairment, it's got destruction, it's got mobility. People that play the class generally don't hate it. Um, the only thing downside with it probably is it lacks a little bit of AOE, especially the yellow build. Green build does do a little bit better in that. It's a little bit slow as well in terms of like animation time, not in terms of like left to right mobility, but you can rectify that with engravings or agility, such as Spirit Absorption. Um, Classes that I would not recommend for for beginners. I would also recommend a paladin, definitely, because not only are you severely wanted and needed in every type of content in terms of cubes, sunpath, trials, raids, guardian raids, everything. But it's just like it's always nice to have a healer and shields and buffs and stuff like that. And Holy Knight also does damage, unlike a bard. and it's nice to feel wanted, and you definitely feel that when you play Paladin, because there's only one or two healers in the game. It's actually not quite as difficult as Bard. Like you don't have to position the heal. As long as they're on your screen, they're getting healed. You know what I mean? Like it's easier to play. It's highly it's not hard to learn. Uh, in terms of class that I feel like beginners should stay away from. I know you said Soul Master, so I'll probably pick something else here. Um, I would not play Deadeye, to be honest with you. Deadeye is extremely difficult class. It's not overpowered by any means. They're actually gonna buff it. They're gonna buff it. It's difficult because not only you're range, but you have to. So many of your attacks are in melee range while being ranged, so you don't have that distinct advantage of a ranged DPS where you can stay safe and you want to attack from behind at the same time while trying to upkeep all your buffs, switching between three different guns. It's just a lot to manage for a beginner. I feel like if you're it's first time playing the game, unless like all you want to do is PvP. Like Deadeye is really strong in PvP if when played properly. But in terms of like PvE content, there are classes that are easier to learn. There are classes that are easier to play, easier to gear for, less, more rewarding and less punishing. And I feel like until they really do some significant buffs on the Deadeye, which are coming, they plan to improve the quality of life changes on the Deadeye, or Devil Hunter, whatever you want to call it. Um, Interestingly, the if you have to play a Deadeye, I'd rather you go with Gunslinger, which is more friendly in terms of ranged attacks. It's got a sniper rifle. It's got slightly different attacks and it's got slightly better engraving. It's just like an overall better Deadeye, in my opinion. And it's got sexy outfits as well. It's got tons of damage. Go play a gunslinger. If you really want guns,
Yeah.
go play a gunslinger. Play the female version. Don't play the male version. That's my opinion.
Nice. All right. We've been going for about an hour now, so let's close it out and let's just give everybody like one good suggestion for a new player coming into the game, doesn't really know what they're doing, that we want to, share some of our experience with them. And for me, I would say if you buy a founders pack, whatever you get from that founders pack, except for the gear, like all the battle items, the potions, everything like that, put it in your stash. Don't use it. I've tuned into a lot of streams where people are saying like, "Oh, trying out for the first time," and then I look at them playing the game and they're drinking purple potions at level 20, and it's like, don't do that. Why are you doing that? Those potions are like 40 gold each. Like, I mean, saying 40 gold, like normally in a video game that has an economy like this, you think 40 gold, that's nothing. I can get 40 gold like that. But no, in Lost Ark, 40 gold is a lot, especially when there's going to be 0 gold in the economy on day one. Put all of your battle items, all of your potions into your bank and don't touch them until you're level 50. Maybe even leave them there until tier 2 content. Like, you try to learn how to play the game without those potions.
And like all the end game content is somewhat time gated, so it's like, you know what I mean. Like there's only so much gold you can actually earn with one character in every week. So be smart with it. Yeah. My pro tip actually comes from me watching a lot of Audrey stream. He levels all his alts by hand. He has never spent a dime on the Russian server. He's created a lot of different type of characters. Striker, he leveled it all the way to end game. He deleted it. Fury, he leveled it all the way to end game. He deleted it, and then he made another Fury and then deleted it again. And then Hawkeye, he's got multiple warlords, he's got multiple bards, multiple holy knights, paladins. Don't delete your characters, guys. Like honestly, like it's not that hard, not that expensive to open a character slot. Uh, Alts really matter in this game in terms of character progression, and because everything is time gated in terms of raids, the more alts you have, the more gold you can make. If you really don't want to play character, just log in for its time gated content and then just log out, right? Because you can funnel that resource into your main character, the one that you actually want to play, and level, make significantly more progress. So like, especially if you're free to play, like try not to delete your characters, even if you like, if you hate. If you made a soul master, you absolutely hate the soul master, but at the very least, you can log in just to do the guardians, right? And then just like funnel those crystals into your main character, and just it helps, right? Like don't delete them unless you like really run out of space and you there's just something else that you want to play. But in that case, like just maybe spend like $4 into the cash shop and open a new character slot, because like these alts are very valuable.
Yeah, I think both of those are huge, right? I think that new players are definitely going to make the mistake of spending things they shouldn't, and new players are definitely going to make the mistakes of whether it's deleting a character or an item or whatever, just because they're frustrated or they don't like it. I think, yeah, those are really important. I think for me, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but I would say for new players, um, enjoy the ride. Come in expecting a long uh, uh, time commitment, not in the sense of every day, but in the sense of that this game will be around for a long time, and it's proven itself in Korea for years and now in other regions. Um, this isn't going to be a game where you get on and it's your dopamine hit. Every 2 minutes and 5 minutes. Like this game is best enjoyed when you play with friends, when you play the classes that you like and you spend time getting better at it, when you engage in the community, go watch Twitch streams, go hang out with people, go make friends, stay positive instead of trying to see all the negatives in it, like, oh, I didn't get this loot, or oh, this guy sucks in my party, or whatever. um, Really just sit back and relax and enjoy this huge journey you're about to go on, because it's absolutely massive. And um, I don't know, it's just enjoy it, relax.
Cool. All right, so I think we're going to end it there, and we're going to try to do this once a week. So we'll be back next time that there's some server maintenance and we can't play the game. So until then, just looking forward to the NA release and hopefully bringing you guys some more good content. You can find all of us on Twitch. Our handles are below our pictures here, and I'll also put them in the description below.
Thanks, guys.
All right, have a good night, guys.